Today, the eternal march of the can. Today, we document how this iconic brand comes to life.
Plus, one craftsman keeps an outdoor tradition alive with Northern Toboggan. Let's see the art of crafting these handmade sleds.
People are passionate about outdoor equipment. Get this, Americans spend more than $20 billion a year on gear. But no one ever really sees how their stuff gets made.
Well, that's where we come in. Each week, we throw open the factory doors and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how your favorite gear is made.
Made for the outdoors.
It's funny when you start thinking about all your outdoor adventures, just how many motors we all end up using. Heck, for me, it's my truck, the boat motors, the ATVs, my chainsaw. Well, Seafoam's owners say their products help keep your motors running smoothly without a hitch. And we decided, you know what? We should go see how Seafoam gets made for the outdoors.
Seafoam is a liquid fuel additive that goes into all kinds of motors. Long ago developed to clean fuel and oil passageways. Seafoam, brainstormed in the 1930s by Fred Fandry, an Indiana angler who couldn't keep the motor on his fishing boat running. Before we see how Seafoam gets made for the outdoors, let's try and figure out how it works.
Seafoam is a company that sells automotive additives. The flagship one is Seafoam Motor Treatment. It was developed to stabilize fuel for long periods of time, but it goes way further than the stabilizer.
To understand Seafoam is to hop a plane to Chicago, North Chicago to be exact, home to one of Seafoam's blending facilities. Randy Schwab shows us around. In his hands, this gadget.
We're checking to find out if there's flammable vapor in the air, so we're watching this lower explosive level, and we want to make sure that that stays under 10.
Lower the score, the better you do at that game.
Yes, kind of like golf.
All week long, train cars and tanker trucks deliver raw materials.
We're unloading either from rail or from the tank wagons here, pumping, metering the amount that's coming through the pipes.
Workers pump individual chemicals into nearby holding tanks. From there, a complex system of pipes move materials through the facility to blending tanks.
So now we'll go in and we will see the production area where the line runs.
So it all happens just right inside.
That's right, that's where all the cans are.
Cans, oh, a lot of cans.
So we try to blend the product in one tank, have the next tank ready to go so that when we empty one tank, we just switch over to the next tank and keep the cans going. So we run 2 shifts a day, 10-hour shifts, Monday through Thursday.
So you're filling a lot of bottles.
We are filling a lot of cans.
In here, the Seafoam team blends, fills, and finishes everything Seafoam. But before we watch any of this, we head over, up, and around to the lab.
Here we are.
In here, Laura Kane checks Seafoam's blend.
We test all of the products that we make in the plants, just to make sure that all the products are the right quality, make sure that they're a good product that we can sell to consumers. So it's done now. It's at 188.05 parts per million.
We just won.
Yep.
2 in a row.
Yeah, so that's it. Now we're done.
So that means?
It's a good product and we can approve it and send it downstairs and they'll package it.
with Laura's stamp of approval, it's time to get to work on Seafoam's bottling process. Up next, workers bottle, pack, and ship the product.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Magnum Research, Otter Outdoors, Ice Castle Fish Houses, Banks Outdoors, and by Walden's.
Just north of Chicago, Seafoam fuel treatment perpetually comes to life. Workers first unload raw materials, then mix the chemicals to create Seafoam. Now, the process moves to the canning area. No mistaking the sound in this room.
There used to be a show open from Milwaukee that looked a lot like this. Laverne and Shirley.
A conveyor lines up empty cans in single file order and marches them off behind a protective wall into the filling room. The filling machine does a couple of things. It first tops off each bottle with Seafoam and then twists on the lids. This process runs smoothly only if the conveyor gets a steady flow of empty cans. Exactly why workers use a pretty cool homemade rig. James Lewis, the can pusher, puts me to work.
I'm so afraid that I'm gonna knock over 1,000 cans right now. Okay? Yeah? I'm moving the cardboard. I saw where you took it.
Workers must also keep the lid feeder full.
In an average day, they'll do like 50,000 cans, and in a big day, as many as 75,000. That's a lot of Seafoam.
The boxing machine grabs cardboard, pops open each box, and preps them for cans. The loading machine then drops 24 cans into each box. The taper seals each box, and the pallet wrapper preps each load for shipment. Like that, Seafoam goes to storage, where it will sit for hours, not days, before going out the door. Big-time growth for what once was a simple dream to make a boat motor run a little bit better on water. Which means a lot of people, and I mean a lot, are now using Seafoam to treat and maintain their motors.
Anytime you burn a fuel, you have a residue, right? And all that residue just doesn't go away. It has to go someplace. Seafoam will not let the gum and varnish, if you use it, to form in the first place.
So there you go. Seafoam, made to keep your motors running and made for the outdoors.
Coming up, this family-run business is one of the last of its kind. We craft with Northern Toboggan, next on Made for the Outdoors.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Topper Easy Lift, Aquarius Home Services, Mulching Mania, Minnesota Trailer Manufacturing, and by Central Boiler.
winter may create some dormancy. However, Midwesterners find beauty in the slowdown. In Minnesota, winter is often the longest season of the year, so it's important to find an outdoor tradition that helps beat the blues. And you can't go wrong with some sledding fun. Toboggans have been around since the 1800s, a tradition that dates back to the fur trade. Wooden sleds originated in Canada to assist with transportation in the snow. Trappers and hunters pulled the first sleds by hand, which later were replaced by dogs and snowmobiles. The workhorses hauled wild game and camping supplies, while recreational sleds were strictly for fun. Back in the day of chivalry, a man would even try to impress a lady by sporting his Sunday best and taking her for a ride. So guys, maybe forget Tinder and dating sites, just get yourself a sled. Okay, maybe times have changed a bit, but Minnesota taps the toboggan market. The company Northern Toboggan crafts handmade sleds and is determined to continue the tradition.
There's actually an opportunity to create kind of that toboggan revival around reminding people of this pastime and then also showing them that, hey, they're still available.
There's a little red workshop nestled in the woods outside of the small town of Warroad, Minnesota, that's home to Northern Toboggan.
We're in Warroad, Minnesota. We're 6 miles from the Canadian border, the small town feel. It's a good place for my family.
This family-run business may be the last of its kind.
We make them commercially to supply. I think I'm the last guy.
The fact that we are the last of the toboggan makers, we take a lot of pride in it.
It's the parts, cut lists, dimensions, pretty sophisticated. We're definitely, obviously, a small business that relies a lot on the craftsmanship.
The craftsmanship is left to John Herron.
Well, it's been fun. We get along, we can give each other. We've done a lot of things together over the years.
John's sons Jackson and Gabriel know the craft, but help more with the business end of things.
I've always seen my dad building things. You know, there's something that fitted his personality and his skill set pretty well.
It's also really important that we see Dad's legacy continued. I don't know if there's something primitive about something living beyond ourselves.
This one's for a local guy, for ice fishing.
Today we're making a 14-foot toboggan. And this is the workshop. These piles of lumber are all red oak. The wood air dries all summer and is ready for steaming, bending, and assembly in the fall.
This one will go, Jack. We're ripping lumber and planing it and tapering it, and then bending, and then it's making the pieces.
John first will measure the 4 main boards to 16 feet 1 inch. Yes, you heard right. To make a 14-foot toboggan, you need 2 extra feet to account for that bend. Each board is then cut by hand.
We buy the lumber S2S 1 inch, so the thickness is a 1 inch full, but oftentimes they don't clean up. The wood we use for toboggans is 7/8.
John also rips the wood to make sure it's the correct length, width, and thickness.
We put a taper in the end that's going to be bent. So like this is 7/8 here, and it tapers down to 5/16.
After a quick break, we learn how to bend wood without snapping it. Plus, we meet the next generation craftsman who's hoping to continue this art form.
It's getting to be a toboggan.
You're watching Made for the Outdoors.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Appledorn's Resort. Select Minnesota GMC dealers. Powers Machining Incorporated. And by Minnesota Horse and Hunt Club.
Hey there, I'm Bill Shirk.
And I'm Lindsay Hayes.
If you're a fan of Made for the Outdoors and want to know more about upcoming episodes, be sure to like us on Facebook.
And also follow us on Instagram for cool behind-the-scenes looks at what we're working on.
And you know what? If you've got an idea for a show, be sure to drop us a note.
Ready?
Welcome back to Made for the Outdoors and Northern Toboggan in Warroad, Minnesota.
From Minneapolis is about a 6-hour drive north. Warroad is one of the furthest north cities in Minnesota.
Northern Toboggan crafts traditional Canadian-style toboggans for outdoor enthusiasts all around the world.
First and foremost, and probably for as long as we want to make them, is the northern communities in Canada, typically Indian communities, Denny, and also we supply dealers that sell, snowmobiles and that sort of equipment, trapping equipment. They're used primarily in roadless areas.
Some may say toboggan making is a dying art, but to the Herons, it's an awesome father-son memory and a way of life.
Building toboggans is an art form, and we take a lot of pride in that. We hold every toboggan or sled that leaves these doors to a really high standard.
With woodworking, it's all in the detail. And it's about to get hot in here. 212 degrees to be exact.
I'm adding water to the steamer. We got to steam the boards before we can bend them.
The tapered ends of the red oak boards are then placed into a steam box. Just how heat relaxes our muscles, it does the same thing to the wood.
So they got to stay in that steamer at 212 degrees for, if the moisture is perfect, 20 minutes and they can come out and be bent.
Look at how flexible the steamer makes each board. John uses a jig to then muscle the bend.
The stuff is bending pretty nice.
The boards are then left in the forms to dry.
And then the jig and the board sets for a week or 10 days.
Now 4 become 1 thanks to the cross pieces.
I'm laying out for the hitch cross piece and the curl cross piece. If they're going to use a steel hitch on it, this is where the hitch is mounted to the toboggan.
Each cross piece is then attached with some help from John's apprentice, Ammon.
This is Ammon. He's been working with me this fall, started in October. He's turning into a good hand.
I really enjoy doing the toboggans. I really like working with this red oak.
If we didn't keep it up, it would be a lost art.
It would be.
Yeah.
Like many other arts from even 1 or 2 centuries ago.
Back in the day, John learned his skills from a mentor. And now that he's the last of his kind, he's devoted to teaching the craft so it doesn't disappear when he retires.
Really feel good about knowing we're here to do it right and do a good job.
And an apprentice is an essential aspect because we can create the business process around it. We can take that side off of them, but there is that familiarity with the process, a level of craftsmanship that only comes through repetition and time. So that's also a very critical part of our future.
Is that clamp still tight?
Yes.
This dynamic duo is going to make sure that doesn't happen. Final assembly includes bolting on the cross pieces, adding the Northern Toboggan name, and the tie rope.
All right, she's done.
this is not just any toboggan. Look at the craftsmanship and the detail. These days, we need to make more of an effort to pass along outdoor traditions from one generation to the next. This toboggan is a symbol of history, family bonding, outdoor survival, outdoor recreation, and fun.